What's up, everybody? TCM here, back with another video, and today we're going to be doing something we've done the past 2 years, which is how do you become a hacker? This is the 2023 edition. 2021 and 2022 were both very successful, and everybody's been asking me, where's 2023? Here is the 2023 edition of How to Be a Hacker. So if you want to break in the field and you want to learn the exact path I would recommend taking, the courses that are out there, the options that are out there for you and for your career, this is the video for you. I won't get long-winded, so as always, if you like the video, please hit the like button, please subscribe, comment down below, and let's jump into it after a quick word from our sponsor, Intigriti. All right, you see this beautiful logo right here? This is the Intigriti bug, and our sponsor today is Intigriti. In order to do them justice as a sponsor of our video, we need to hop over to the computer, so let's do that really quick. So who is Intigriti? Well, they do a really good job telling you about themselves. They're Europe's #1 ethical hacking and bug bounty platform. This is actually their 3rd year in a row sponsoring this video, and we love them dearly. Now, what's a bug bounty platform? Well, it means that you can actually get paid to hack on programs. If we come over here, for example, and we just click on public programs, they have over 400 programs that you can hack on, and some of them pay really, really well. Like, for example, this Torfs program here pays up to 7,500 euros, which is pretty impressive. With that, you don't even have to be European. Yeah, all these companies are European. Yeah, they pay in euros, but you can hack from anywhere in the world. So if you're trying to learn to hack, or you're trying to earn some extra money, you want to get some web app practice on some of these programs, all of these places will allow you to hack on them with permission to hack them. And if you do find a bug, you get paid for it. And that is what is so awesome about Intigriti. So if you're interested in signing up, I'll put my link in the description down below. Otherwise, you can just take a screenshot of this link on the screen right now. All right, with sponsorship out of the way, let's talk really quickly about the field of ethical hacking. Ethical hacking sounds great. It's sexy. It sounds really cool. You get to break into computers, into buildings and applications, and you get paid to do it, and it's not illegal. That's pretty freaking cool. However, this field requires a lot of work. This field is not something that is just, hey, hacker that you see on TV in the black hoodie, even though I'm wearing one. It's not all of that, okay? There are black hoodies involved, but there's other things as well. You have to be really good with communication. You have to be good at report writing. You have to be able to translate very technical topics down to a 5-year-old level at times. And there's a lot of other things that are really not so sexy about the field. So if you're looking at hacking because it sounds cool, that's great. If you're looking at it just for the money, that's okay, but you need to make sure you know what you're getting into. I made a whole YouTube video on this, on why you should not be an ethical hacker. It's done really well, and I think that you should probably check it out too before you're beginning, just to make sure that you even want to get into this. I've had people message me and say, hey, I watched your video and I realized that this field is not for me. So make sure you know what you're getting into before you continue on down this path, and then you make the mistake I did in my career, like me becoming an accountant and then realizing that after 5 years of schooling, you absolutely hated accounting. Don't be like me, okay? Make sure that you know you want to get in this field. You know for sure this is what you're passionate about before you dive into the deep end. All right, so with that warning out of the way, let's go ahead and just jump right into all of this. Just like previous years, this video comes with an accompanying blog. Now, this blog has all the resources and links and everything else that I'm going to talk about in it. So what I'm going to do, instead of linking all these links in the YouTube description, I'm just going to link to the blog. You come to the blog and then you can check out all the links, everything that's in here in one place. Okay, so this is your guide. This is going to be your Bible. Save this somewhere. Make sure you have all your resources available to you. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about these foundational skills. Now, I tend to think of things as being building blocks. So if we scroll down a little bit, we've got this picture here. And if you think about a foundation of a house, for example, if you build a house on a weak foundation or on no foundation, there's a really good chance that that house is going to crumble at some point. You need a strong foundation. So same thing with cybersecurity, same thing with ethical hacking. You have to have foundational skills before you can build your way up in the pyramid. So we're starting at the bottom. And with this guide, what I want you to do is identify where you're at. Maybe you're past basic IT skills or past networking skills, and maybe you need to learn coding or scripting, or maybe you're already past this foundational section. That's fine. Identify where you're at and start there in the guide. This is laid out in logical order and the order of which you should study, in my opinion. So with our foundational skills, we have 5 core ones. We added a new core skill this year, being security skills. We've got basic IT, computer networking, Linux, coding, scripting, and security skills. So let's hop into basic IT first. So the absolute first one are your basic IT skills. Can you troubleshoot computer issues? Can you identify computer parts? Can you build a computer? If the answer is no, you're probably really new to IT, and that's okay. But we need these foundational skills first and foremost before we move on to anything else. In my mind, this lines up with what is called the CompTIA A+ certification. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go out and get the certification. It just means that you should be aware, and I think the training that is out there for the certification is pretty decent. So you should at least go take the training, get your foundational skills in place. And honestly, it doesn't hurt to have the A+ certification, but by no means am I sponsored by saying that to you. So with that, the A+ kind of breaks down into 2 different sections. We've got the 101 and we've got the 102. And there's really 2 courses in my mind that do a very good job. There's a free course by Professor Messer, and you're going to see, especially for the CompTIA foundational skills, you're going to see 2 people back and back and back again. It's going to be Professor Messer and Mike Myers. So Professor Messer, his stuff is free. If you scroll through here, you can see all the different video options he's got. So they cover like mobile devices and networking, a bunch of items like hardware. And this is just to get those foundational skills out of the way. So everybody's kind of got to go through it. Really nice. The second section of this is what is the 102. And I believe, if I recall from my time, this is more of troubleshooting. So you get into operating systems and different commands and those sorts of things. And how do you troubleshoot a computer that's broken? How do you fix a computer that's broken? And that's kind of really what this covers here. So Professor Messer's great. In my opinion, he kind of reads off a slide sometimes. So if you're not into that style of learning, then I think there's alternatives that are really good. And that alternative being Mike Myers. So Mike Myers courses are not free. You could see I'm in private browsing right now, and they're running an offer for $17.99. Typically, you can wait and get a deal for like $10 for courses, but if you want to throw the author a couple extra dollars, I think it's worth it also if you have the funding. But there's always a deal on Udemy. You can see they're running a deal that ends in 5 hours. Always a deal. Mike is great when it comes to breaking things down into his own unique style, and I'll talk about that more in the networking section of what I really enjoyed from him. So when I was doing my A+ certification, I used Professor Messer pretty exclusively, but Mike Myers came in handy as well. So just like the Professor Messer course, Mike Myers has a 101 and a 102, and that is just because the CompTIA test requires you to take 2 different tests in order to get your A+ certification. Hands down, by far, most important skill. If you skip over the foundationals of basic IT, you're going to be in a lot of trouble if you just try jumping right into the deep end with learning hacking. So learn your basic IT skills first. All right, next up are networking skills. And I don't mean like going out and talking to people and making friends. No, I mean computer networking. So when we're doing pen testing, especially network pen testing, we need to understand computer networking in depth. So do we know what a port is? Do we know if I said what's running on port 22 or 21 or 23? Could you tell me off the top of your head? Do you know what the OSI model is? Do you know what CIDR notation is? Can you do subnetting? What's the 3-way handshake? If I'm just yelling random phrases at you and you're like, what the heck is he talking about? Well, then congratulations, you need to do more networking. There are a few different resources for this, I think, that are great. Again, I'm going to always offer free and paid resources where available. So we're still in the beginner level section, again, dominated by just a few people. Professor Messer, always free for his course videos. Only 1 course on this one, so which is great. Thank you, CompTIA. You only have to go through the networking course once. There's not 2 or anything else hidden there. So again, Professor Messer, there's a great course through Packet Tracer. So Cisco Packet Tracer is from Cisco. It allows you to emulate, simulate. I never know what those 2 words are. Either way, it allows you to simulate a network, and you can build out devices and you can actually configure them. I went through it when I was going through my CCNA. I think it's a great tool. They actually have a course for it, so you can go to view courses, and they have free resources for building out networking or networking objects and using Packet Tracer to do that. I think it's a fantastic free resource. So make sure you check that out as well. And then as always, we've got Mike Myers. Now I use this course quite a bit. Granted, it was a long time ago, but I use Mike Myers' course quite a bit when going through the Network Plus certification, mainly because of how he taught it. Now, Professor Messer, again, uses PowerPoint presentations. It can be kind of dry sometimes. And also, he goes in order of the syllabus for CompTIA. Now, Mike Myers does it a little bit differently. He goes in the order of what's logical to teach, even though he covers the same syllabus. So I think it's a little bit better laid out course. Also, he's very visual. He uses a lot of like tools, and like I remember him using toothpicks and building blocks and like going out and actually showing like a network rack and different things like that. And it really helped with my learning ability when it came to picking up the networking concepts, because for me, networking was very difficult to pick up at first. So I think this course is great. I think the way he teaches it is great. But again, depending on your budget, depending on what you're doing, Professor Messer is a great option because he's free and fantastic. Okay, quick warning for the networking section. I have people ask me, hey, I understand about the Network Plus, but what about the CCNA? So I included that this year as like a note on the blog. Look, the CCNA is by Cisco. It's vendor specific. I got it in my career because I was working with Cisco devices as a network engineer. I would say be cautious about getting the CCNA certification. I think it's good. I think it's a little bit better at helping understand networking above and beyond the Network Plus. But again, it is vendor specific. You don't want to go out and get like a CCNP or a CCIE or anything crazy like that if your intention is to become a pen tester. I have seen some pen testers with some advanced networking certifications get roped into other things that they didn't want to be doing because they were the resident expert or because they were the person with the Cisco certifications. And that happens in your career, yeah, but I think like it's overkill going beyond the CCNA. So CCNA is okay. Network Plus is, I think, fine. Again, you don't have to get any of these certifications, but if you're going to do it, I think Network Plus is fine. If you really want to go above and beyond, CCNA is fine. Do you need it? No. Can you study for it? Yeah. Does it help to know some of the Cisco command line and language? Yes. But is it necessary to become successful in the career? No. So again, depends on your situation and on what you want to do in your career, but CCNA is not necessary to become a pen tester. Okay, third up on the list is Linux skills. Now, we use Linux a ton in ethical hacking. You're not going to avoid it, so you're going to have to learn Linux at some point. Now, Linux can be daunting because it's a different operating system if you've never used it before. It can be scary, honestly. But just like a foreign language, in my opinion, it's really easy to pick up Linux if you were to drop yourself right in Linux. Just like learning a language. You can learn language from somebody online, but if you go to the country and you actually sit there and you take time, you're going to pick up the language a lot faster. So you can watch courses. I think courses are great for Linux. There's a ton of options out there for it, but nothing is going to beat just getting Linux, downloading it, and trying to use it as your main operating system or something along those lines. And that will help you learn faster than anything else. Now, there are a few sites that I can recommend. One is actually down today when I'm recording, which is Linux Journey. But keep that in mind. The other website is called Over the Wire. It's kind of more of a game. I would say this is supplemental to a course if you wanted to do this, but you go through and it teaches you the beginning types of Linux, and you have different challenges that you have to go through in order to like capture a flag. And it's a fun way to learn Linux while also capturing flags. They've got quite a bit of levels. And the nice thing is it's been around so long, there's walkthroughs and guides and stuff if you get stuck, so you don't have to just do this challenge, get stuck, and can't find anything out there. So great resource. Now I'm going to show you a Linux course which comes from our academy. I'm going to preface this with you don't have to purchase this course or any of the courses I'm going to show you. A lot of things that I will tell you can be found on YouTube, especially something like a Linux course. Now, you want to make sure that it's curated to Debian Linux more so than anything else, though you can learn any type of Linux. We just use Debian quite a bit. There's two distributions in Linux that we use a lot, which is Kali Linux, and we also use a Linux called Parrot. Those are both Debian based. So you can go out and learn Red Hat or other types of Linux, but learning a Debian type Linux is really good. This course here is paid. It's Linux 101, but if you want something that's like curated, put together, comes from a hacker-based academy, and you want to learn Linux like officially, we've got a lot of material here. As always, our courses are $30. Again, you can curate this stuff yourself and probably find courses on YouTube for free. So again, depending on your budget and what you want to do, you have options there. Okay, next up in our foundational skill set are coding/scripting skills. You do not need to be a coder to be a successful pen tester. The better you are at coding, the easier it'll probably be for you in this career field, but I can still code at like a 5-year-old level, I feel like, and I get by just fine. What you really need to know how to do really is scripting, very, very important. That could be done in Bash, that could be done in Python. I do recommend starting with Python first because it's a great introductory level coding language, and it's actually starting to be used more and more in colleges as the first language that they teach because it's so beginner friendly and it's just really kind of intuitive when you're learning it. So I recommend picking up Python. Again, you don't have to be a full-on developer, but if you find a passion for coding, I think that's awesome. But understanding how to script with different languages like Bash, like Python, is very, very important in order to succeed in this field. So there are tons and tons and tons of resources for coding out there. A lot of them are free, some of them are paid. It just depends what you want to do. Free Code Camp always comes up in my recommendations. They've got tons and tons of tutorials here. You can search for Python in here. Just make sure that you're searching Python 3. If it's a few years old, it could be Python 2. So make sure the course is taught in Python 3. Python 2 is now deprecated. All right. So just come in here, search Python. You'll be able to find courses. Another resource that I absolutely love is a place called Codecademy. What's nice is they have languages, all different types of languages that you can learn in here. So they've got JavaScript, HTML, new to coding. They have different paths and skills and everything in here that you can come learn. But they have great resources for learning Python. And while they do have a paid pro plan that I recommend, they allow you to sign up for free. They allow you to sign up for the pro plan for free without using a credit card, which I appreciate. And they have great resources when it comes to learning Python because they have actual command line. Like you can see right here, you actually type in different code, you run it, you see the output, and you are getting hands-on, that kinesthetic type of learning, which is fantastic when it comes to coding because you have to do that. A couple other resources. Team Treehouse is fantastic as well. This one is paid. I believe it's somewhere in the $20 to $30 a month range. It's $25 a month. You do get a 7-day free trial. They have all kinds of different coding languages and courses and stuff that they teach in here. If we go to the library, they've got quite a bit of items in here. So beginning Python, again, I'd recommend. They've got front-end web development, full stack. You see 41 hours of material. And the material, they've got video lessons. So if you're a visual learner, I think it's fantastic. They have really good resources. And again, just like Codecademy, they have the ability to type into a terminal and actually try out your code while you're going through the course. And similar to the Linux course, we also have Python courses on our academy. This is geared specifically towards ethical hacking. So the big difference here is you learn all the Python items, but then you also have projects towards the end. So we have projects about brute forcing SSH or exploiting SQL injection, etc. So we take Python, we teach it to you, but we teach it to you with the hacker's mindset. We've got this 101 course here from Riley, which is fantastic. And if you get really excited about that course and you get through it and you want to learn more, we also have a 201 course, which just gets more advanced. And then again, as you get towards the projects, towards the end, you start to build some really cool stuff, getting into like DLL injection, key logging, buffer overflows. And if all that makes no sense to you, that's okay. But it's really fun to do with Python. And again, this is built out more towards hackers and the hacker mindset. All right, something new this year that we're adding in are security skills. You have to have some security knowledge if you're going to work in cybersecurity. And I think in hindsight, this has been a skill that I've overlooked putting into this guide because I assumed you would pick it up through hacking and other materials. But I think now, as I've gotten older, that layering your security skills in before you get into any sort of hacking stuff is probably better. And again, this lays out to like the Security Plus type certification. Does it mean you have to go out and get it? No. If there's a certification I'm going to recommend from CompTIA that can maybe help you in your career, it's probably this one out of any of them. Not saying A plus and Net plus aren't useful. It's just that the Security Plus adds some ability to go out and get like a job, maybe as a SOC analyst, some entry level cybersecurity roles, etc. So I think picking up these security skills and maybe getting a certification here could be useful. Now, the Security Plus in my mindset, especially when I went through it, is what I call the Network Plus Plus. It takes a lot of networking concepts. You have to make sure you understand networking before you just jump into the Security Plus, or it's going to be a lot more difficult to understand the material. So get through your networking and then layer those security concepts on top of networking and learn some other security concepts along the way. And you'll be ready to roll when you get into your hacking materials and that stuff. So again, Professor Messer for Security Plus, I used him when I was going through it, as did I use Mike Myers. Not going to go over this again, free versus paid type option, same deal. Both the pros and cons of. So just depending on your budget, I think both are fantastic and could get you through the certification, or at least get you through the foundational knowledge. Again, you don't have to get any of these certifications if you don't want to. All right, my little baby hackers, if you have made it this far, well, now you are past the foundational skills and we move into what are called the hacking basics or the hacking foundation. So if you just went through the IT foundations, now we're going to go through the hacking foundations. We got to get through these before we really learn all the good fun stuff in hacking. Not to say this is not fun. This is really fun. But we have to learn the hacking foundational skills before we can jump off into the deep end. All right. Now, hacking material is not as free and accessible as a lot of the other stuff that I'm showing you. Hacking's more advanced. In terms of a paid option that's out there versus free, I'm going to cover that. Both are my courses. And this is a little bit of self-promotion, but I truly, truly believe this with trying to remove as much bias as possible. The practical ethical hacking course that we have is by far the most affordable and most realistic and practical course that's going to be out there for actually learning your foundational skills of hacking, plus going above and beyond for some of the other stuff that you're going to see at the top of the pyramid. And just like every other course we have, it's $30. And we go through, we have all the different things that you need to learn. So we cover a lot of stuff in here, like networking. We cover computer networking. We cover Python. We cover Linux. We make sure that we go through all of those things to get your foundations ready or refreshed. And then we get into some of the actual hacking items that you need to know, like information gathering when it comes to doing reconnaissance, like port scanning and doing enumeration, vulnerability scanning with tools like Nessus, learning how to exploit machines, and then going through a capstone that we built custom for you in order to test out the skills that you've learned. And this would be the foundation. This is like the first half of the course here. And what's so nice about this is every year we actually update and put on YouTube our courses, okay? So for this one, we just put out the 2023 edition. This is 15 hours of content. 2022 was 12 hours. We went and added more material, refreshed it for 2023. This is 15 hours. It is actually such a big file. We had to separate it into two parts because YouTube doesn't allow longer videos anymore. So this is the first 7 hours, and then there's actually a second one that's another 7 hours here. So what you do is you take these, you learn, and what you're getting out of that is literally everything up until this point. So you're getting the first 15 hours of this course. I think the course says it's 25 hours. It's actually longer since we've added it. We just need to update that. It's probably getting closer to 30 hours at this point. But you get through this capstone section, and that's where the part 2 ends. Okay, so I think this is a fantastic resource, free resource in order to use YouTube. If you like it, you can come finish out the rest of the materials. If not, I don't know of anything out there that is teaching free resources like this. And again, is practical, trying to remain as unbiased as possible. There's just not a lot of great resources that are also affordable, which is our big passion for this channel and for our students, is that we have affordable education. That's why everything we're showing you is either $20 to $30 range in this whole video. So with that out of the way, there are a few resources I want to show you for practicing your foundational skills. One is called Try Hack Me. This is a great resource for learning. They have different paths and stuff in here. You can see like a red teaming path, offensive security, CompTIA. Basically, these allow you to practice different skill sets. Now, why I'm such a big fan of Try Hack Me is that they are super beginner friendly. They instruct you. You can see, like, if you look at some of this here, you can see it tells you, like, hey, here's your task, here's some instruction, and then you actually get hands on. You have to submit some flags and learn. And it's a really, really good learning style, because before they came around, there really wasn't anybody doing it like this. Now, there was a competitor called Hack the Box, which I have on my recommendation list here as well, but they weren't really in the academic space. They were more of a challenge. They were here, download this VPN file, connect to a machine, and then you have to attack that machine with no information whatsoever. And that is still accurate. This is how they operate. They are more of a you learn through trial and error versus somebody holding your hand and walking through. Now, they have recently introduced an academy to their side. It does cost money, like additional money beyond the pro licensing that they have on their website. But both resources allow you to have access to certain free items, and the freebies they're nice, but they do have some slower environments. I always recommend going for pro plans. I think it's like anywhere from $10 to $20 between Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. So very, very good resources. But for me, I would start with Try Hack Me. It's very, very beginner friendly. And it's a great resource to start. If you want more of a challenge, I think Hack the Box is a good place to go. But once you kind of get your feet wet, because it can be daunting as a beginner. One completely free resource to go and play around with is VulnHub. The only issue with VulnHub, in my opinion, is the Linux machines are all you can download. So because Windows has licensing, you can't really download Windows machines. So you have to come in here and download these capture the flag type machines that are kind of all over the place. They can be difficult, they can be easy. You're going to have to like sort and figure that out. So in my opinion, it's not as intuitive, but it's a place to practice for free, especially if you just want to do some capture the flag type items, which capture the flag, by the way, is less realistic. It's more of a game. And you'll see that a lot of these are more gamified solutions. There's still a good way to practice tools and methodology, but don't expect to see a lot of the stuff that you're finding on these websites in the real world. Not saying that there aren't realistic machines on these. They're just dominant in the CTF or capture the flag style, especially when you get into VulnHub, especially when you get into Hack the Box. Try Hack Me, in my opinion, has more realistic stuff than anything else, but they still fall in line with capture the flag material. Last but not least, if you like capture the flag, there's a great website called CTF Time. CTF Time allows you to go and look up what capture the flag events are going on out there and when they are happening. Like we could see this night CTF is happening from January 20th to January 21st. That's pretty cool. So you can come in here and participate in different CTFs. You can join teams. You can see the weight, which will tell you how difficult some of these CTFs are. Like a weight of 100 is probably pretty difficult, where some of these are zeros. They might just be like random CTFs going on at conferences. So depending on the CTF that's out there, they can be incredibly difficult or range for beginners. So I definitely look at that. You can see if they're online, Jeopardy style, different types of things. So I think CTF Time is great, especially if you get into CTFs. Playing and participating in CTFs is really fun, especially at conferences. Winning them, very fun. And it's just something, again, that's not incredibly practical or realistic or anything, but it's more of a game. But it's a game to use your hacker mindset, and I do love that. I think it's a fun way to learn as well. Okay, last section of the pyramid. We are beyond the basics. Now, we've learned the first half of our foundational skills. We've learned about the 5 stages of hacking. We've learned about reconnaissance and scanning and enumeration and exploitation. But then we need to layer that into other tools. So there are different types of hacking that's out there. Primarily, you have network-based pen testing, web app pen testing, and wireless pen testing. There are other types. You could do car hacking, you can do IoT devices, physical pen testing where you're breaking into buildings. But what this is showing you is kind of just the next step in where to kind of navigate for your career. All right, so first up is Active Directory. And Active Directory is used in like 99% of big corporate networks. You're going to have to know Active Directory. I would say for every 100 pen tests I do for internal networks, again, 99 of them are on Active Directory of some sort. So if you don't know what Active Directory is, that's okay. You'll learn that when you're going through your foundational skills, but you need to know how to hack it if you're going to be a network pen tester by any means. So with that, we curated all the Active Directory lessons, and I do believe we were the first, if not one of the first, to actually come out with Active Directory content, because when I was going through it, all there was out there was just curation of materials that you would have to go and find on your own and just figure it out. So we've got this whole section. It's my favorite thing to teach is Active Directory. We've got this whole area here for learning Active Directory. And again, I think that this is probably the best resource, bang for your buck wise. You're not going to find any Active Directory courses that teach you hacking for $30. Most of them are in the hundreds of dollars at this point, just because it's such a niche area to learn. So with that, and moving beyond self-advertisement, this blog I've always shown, and this is the blog that I actually used when I first got started. I got dumped into a pen test without any knowledge of what I was doing, and my friend said, hey, look at this blog. Try these first few things out and see where you go. And this is all still incredibly relevant. I wish it wasn't, not for the blog's sake, but just because I feel like we are beyond this for 5 years now, but we still see all of the bugs that are shown in this blog in internal pen testing, and these are kind of a core foundation of where to kind of get started. And I think it's fantastic. So again, shout out to Adam, shout out to this blog. This helped me when I first got started, and is a great, like, try these first few things first on a pen test. I think it's a really good resource that you should look at. Now, unfortunately, one of the places I used to recommend stopped doing, or on January 15th, stopped doing these types of labs and Active Directory cyber ranges because they got acquired by INE, and we'll talk about that in the certification section. So I can't really recommend many different labs that are out there. TryHackMe has some paid Active Directory labs as well. So if you want to like practice and try out, I would say work with TryHackMe. Hack the Box has some, though again, it's not hand-holding, it's more of a challenge type deal as well. So really on the Active Directory space, there's not a lot going on there. I will show you these. So in this section, I do point out some people to follow. There are some really good resources in Active Directory, different blogs, different people to follow, as well as there are some Twitter accounts that you should follow. Anything by Spectre Ops is really impressive, as well as Gentle Kiwi. Some of these guys like Harmjoy and Captain Jesus here, they work for Spectre Ops. So any of these rock stars here and any of these blogs are really, really good for Active Directory, for curating material and learning about this. But again, the material that's out there is not highly curated for Active Directory, unless you're willing to pay hundreds, if not thousands for it, which is not what this blog is about. So I would say, again, use the resources that are available for you. You can curate information that's out there, or you can use course material that's out there in order to learn this type of hacking. So next up is web app hacking, and this is really considered application hacking, more for websites, but application hacking can get into mobile and other applications as well. When you hear about the fancy bug bounty posts and you see people getting bounties like you saw for the ad for Intigriti, basically bug bounties are, hey, you can get paid to hack our website. If you find a bug, we'll give you some money. Not always, but there's a lot of companies out there that do that. And in order to get into the web space, and web application hacking, by the way, is one of the most common things that I do as a pen tester. Network pen test, probably the most common, external at least. And then web application hacking is the next most common. So there are just way more websites out there than there are networks. And with that, it is important to be able to understand how applications work, web applications work, and how to hack into them. So there are fantastic resources. We'll cover some of those really quick. So Portswigger Academy, the Web Security Academy, has moved into my #1 spot. It is by far my most favorite resource here. It's 100% free. You can come in here and learn all different types of attacks and materials, and they have hands-on labs. I don't know how they run this. It's got to cost them tons and tons of money to provide this for free, but it teaches you along the way. They give you labs to practice, and they have challenges and different things like that. I think there's quite a few challenges on here. So very, very impressive. I love this website. I think it's the first place that you should go to try to learn some of these things, or at least supplement your learning with these labs. 100% free. You'd be selling yourself short if you do not go at least try out this academy. Another great place is Hacker 101. They have different video lessons in here. They also have a capture the flag event in here. So you can practice some of their CTFs for free. You can do the video lessons for free. And I think it's just another great resource in order to pick up material for web application pen testing. Along with that, BugCrowd also has their own university. So BugCrowd University, it's not as curated in my opinion. It's more of kind of like one-off videos and different series that you can go through and learn about hacking. So I would consider this supplemental, but it's still a really good resource to learn about web application pen testing as well as other application pen testing. Now, this is a paid service, but Pentester Lab is highly recommended for a lot of people. I see it recommended all the time. They've got different exercises that you can go through. So you can see, I think they have free and pro tiers. These look like they're all pro. There is some free in here. So you could practice some of this. They have different items, and this is all the different labs they have related to web app pen testing. So fantastic resource, worth practicing. Again, I think Portswigger is probably the best, but if you want to pay and have more practice and have, this is really robust. They've got all different kinds of stuff in here. So if you want to practice through these labs as well, I think it's worth it. Something to consider along your journey when you get to this point. Okay, full disclosure, I have a course on YouTube for this as well. I think free resources, curated resources that, again, there's just not a lot for hacking. So we try to dump as many that we can out in the YouTube world. This one is from 2 years ago. So it's a little bit older, but the nice thing about web application hacking is it doesn't change a lot year to year. There's new CVEs, but the methodology tends to stay the same overall. So this is a great resource, again, if you want to look at some free items. And when it comes to web app hacking, by the way, you'll hear the term OWASP a lot, the OWASP top 10, like the top 10 most critical bugs that are out there, the most common bugs, I should say, that are out there. You'll hear about that, and you'll hear about this OWASP project or foundation, and that is the Open Web Application Security Project. This is like the Bible of pen testing when it comes to web app, okay? So they have different resources that are available to you. It's worth checking out. You're going to use these guidelines in your career, especially the top 10, especially when you get into web application pen testing and you get into interviewing, you need to know this top 10. So they just updated it in 2021. And there's a lot of great resources in here for learning. You can click on like, hey, broken access control, what is this? And they'll tell you what's broken access control, what's the description, how to prevent it, what's it look like, and all the different resources available to this. It is just an incredibly detailed guide for learning, and you should have OWASP on your radar because it's one of the most critical foundations of learning web application security in this space. Another resource worth checking out, and this is just an example, all of the bug bounty platforms have this, but if you go to like HackerOne and you look up Hacktivity, you can see the most recently disclosed bugs from different places. Like this person hacked Kayak. They got a $3,000 bug for doing a account takeover. So that's cool. Here's another account takeover for Mattermost. This looks like it didn't pay out anything. This one paid out $150. So you can sort through these. They are ranked by upvotes here. So how interesting they are, even if they're not paid, doesn't mean they're not interesting. And you can sort by popularity, you can sort by new, etc. So you can come in here, and what's nice is sometimes when you click in these, they give you detail as to what happened. Let's see if this one actually does. But this will tell you like, hey, here's what I did, here were the step-by-steps. This one's unfortunately not as detailed, but you can look through these and see, actually there might be more detail. I might just be, nope, I'm not. Okay, so you can look through these and see there's a blog post here where this person actually said, hey, here's how I did it. So that's nice. But yeah, you could see the details in some of these and pick up some additional lessons and methodology and see how some of the hackers are doing it in order to find bugs out there. Last but not least, curated content. Again, we do have a course for this. This is taught by Michael Taggart. Fantastic, great way to learn. Again, $30. Not going to find anything this cheap on the internet. And this covers the beginner level. What is HTTP? What are methods? What are all that stuff? Getting into all these different attacks. And it's incredibly practical. Great course, great feedback from all of our students that have taken it. All right, for the next couple of sections here, we're going to just quickly stay on the blog and cover them. Wireless hacking is something that you're going to need to understand. There are really two different types of wireless hacking anymore, in my opinion, which is hacking pre-shared keys, which is pretty easy. You can actually just look up a blog post. This is how a lot of people start. In fact, I started this way. I just went out before I even knew what I was doing with hacking. I went and bought a wireless injection card, and I started trying to hack my own Wi-Fi and just figure out how things work. But there's also what's called enterprise Wi-Fi. It gets a little bit trickier, but there are also blogs out there for that. I've linked these resources. There's curated material kind of out there. You just kind of have to pick it up through blog posts or through YouTube videos. It's in our practical ethical hacking course. But again, like if you want to go into detail, you can just look up a blog and learn along the way. It's not really that difficult in my opinion. Okay, so certifications, let's jump into that. You're going to hear a lot of comments about needing certifications to get into the field. Yes, it's true. In my opinion, you need certifications. Can you get by without them? Yes, but it's probably more difficult. So there are a couple certifications I want to knock out right out of the way is the CH, Certified Ethical Hacker, and the Pentest Plus from CompTIA. Please do not go out and get these certifications. Please do not believe anybody that is telling you to go out and get these certifications. They have no idea what they're talking about. The only reason you should go out and get these certifications is if you're going to work in a specific field like government that requires you to have these. Now, I understand this varies by country. I know in India, the CEH is really popular. In the United States, it's really popular as well. When it comes to this DoD 8570 government regulation, please do not go out and get these. They're not worth your time or effort, okay? They are multiple choice tests. They're not hands-on. They're not practical. And from that perspective alone, I think they're not worth it, okay? They're, especially the CH, very, very, very expensive for what it is. You just do not get any value out of it. The Pentest Plus, I actually was one of the first beta testers for. I think it was a good certification, good exam. Again, when it comes to hacking, multiple choice tests is probably not the best way to evaluate your skill set, though. So, with that out of the way, I have broken down into categories the landscape of certifications right now. Okay, we've got category A, B, C, and D. Okay, and we'll cover those really quickly. Now, the category A is practical and affordable. We're going to jump right in with our certification, self-promotion. Again, I try to remain as unbiased as possible. I realize there is some here. Our PMPT certification, the certification from 0 Point Security, the CRTO, the CRTP from Pentester Academy, they're all under $400. And these all teach you very critical, practical, hands-on skills when it comes to pen testing and red teaming that you, for $1,200 total, if you went and did all three of these, could do cheaper than any of the other categories that you'll see for one exam in most of these situations that we're about to cover. Okay, these are all hands-on certifications, meaning you have to actually hack into something, you have to submit a report. I think that's very, very important. PMPT is the most entry-level kind of junior to mid pen test here. CRTO, I know Rasta Mouse, who created this, doesn't like me to say it, but I think it's more on the advanced side. It's entry-level red teaming, more advanced on the once you get past the beginner pen testing, Active Directory stuff, and then CRTP kind of gets into maybe in the middle as well. So I think all three of these are great depending on your budget, but I kind of put them in order of how I would take them. PMPT, again, CRTO, if you did the CRTP or not, doesn't really matter. I think these two are very, very heavy hitters, and you're going to see these taking over the industry. You're seeing PMPT and CRTO on a ton of job postings now, and it's just because affordable education is starting to take over in this space and kick out some of the other competitors. So, or replace, not kick out. But we have category B, which is somewhat practical, somewhat expensive. Okay, so there's a company called eLearn Security. They were acquired by a company called INE. eLearn Security was one of my favorite certification companies. When INE took over, there was unfortunately some toxic leadership. That toxic leadership is now gone. However, they did a lot of damage along the way. A lot of the instructors for eLearn Security left. A lot of the quality and talent left. eLearn Security was big on updating at least one of their certification courses every single quarter. That is not happening anymore. So it's hard to recommend them currently because they have moved to this subscription model. And it's not like the subscription model is crazy expensive. I think it's somewhere in the $500 to $800 depending on the deal that you get for a year. But the material is not being updated. And if the material is not being updated, that does have cause for concern. I'll give them some credit. They did just update their very entry-level EJPT course to a version 2. So hopefully there's more coming. It's just be very cautious. Do your due diligence before going and purchasing this plan. Only because of the data material. So look up within the last year on Google if you want to take a certification from them. Not saying that all their certifications are bad. I'm just saying make sure that you do your due diligence and you say, hey, when was the last time this course was updated? Who's taken this recently? Is it worth it? Because you'll find that some people are saying, hey, some of these courses aren't worth it anymore because they're not being updated. So that's just kind of a warning that's out there. Category C is not practical and expensive. Offensive security falls into this category. Some of their certifications, I will give them some credit. There are some certifications out there that are more practical than others. OSCP, they've done in the past year or so, maybe a year and a half, they have worked on making it more practical, though it is still very not practical. We talked about CTF, capture the flag style. That is how this exam is based. The nice thing about OSCP is they are still considered the gold standard for HR gatekeeping. So if you have it on your resume, there's a very, very good chance somebody's going to want to talk to you because of the weight that it's held for the past decade or so. The ROI is probably slipping on the certification. It's not as strong as it was when I wrote this article in 2021 or 2022. Doesn't mean that's still not the HR gatekeeping certification that it is. It's just increasingly getting more expensive. They just went through a price increase, and I think when I took it, it cost me $900. Now it's like $1,500 or $1,600, and it's going up every year because they're shifting more to this business to business model more than business to consumer. So it's really pricing out a lot of students, unfortunately. So that is that category. Again, do your due diligence. There are alternatives. Like I said, in category A, you can get 3 certifications for the price of 1 and learn a ton more, in my opinion, again, while trying to remain as unbiased as possible. Now, category D is practical but expensive. SANS falls into this category solely by themselves. SANS courses are upwards of $10,000. We've had to purchase some SANS courses in the past. All but one of them were incredibly good, incredibly talented instructors. Even the one that we had wasn't that the instructor wasn't talented. It was just that the instructor, I think, didn't teach the course and the value was not there. Some of the courses we've taken, the value has been good, but please do not pay for these courses out of pocket. Please only do this if your employer is going to pay for it. I think there's so many better alternatives out there. There are some things that they teach that are like they're the only one that teaches it. So if you're like really interested in something like IoT pen testing and there's nobody else out there teaching it, yeah, go to SANS if you can afford the price tag. Not a lot of people have that luxury. If you get an employer that will send you to go to SANS, please go. I think the instruction quality is top notch. I think that they're practical, but paying out of pocket is just a tough pill to swallow. All right. So I think, again, they're great, but you just got to weigh your pros and cons, your income level and everything else. I would say only if you're getting an employer to pay for that or you're getting it covered through some sort of university or scholarship or something like that, I would say then go for it. Definitely worth the opportunity and definitely worth the experience at least once. Okay, the next 2 sections we're going to zoom through really quick. First and foremost is exploit development. Now, exploit development is not really important for your pen test career. However, it is its own career field, and you do see exploit development in some beginner lessons. We actually teach it as well. I think it's important to understand the foundationals of what exploit development is, but you do not need to go above and beyond this. If you find that you are passionate or have interest in exploit development, by all means, go for it. Now, there are, again, certifications that have exploit development somewhere on them or historically have been known to do that, such as Offensive Securities, OSCP, E-Learning Securities, eCPPT, or an INE now, etc. There's courses that use this for their exam, okay? Not practical. Never have I ever done an exploit or a buffer overflow on a pen test that wasn't already built out for me. You don't have time to write 0 days on a pen test. Now, again, this is a career field. There's great opportunities to learn here. Now, there are materials out there. We have a 2022 edition of Buffer Overflows Made Easy. It's a 2-hour course, great for stack-based buffer overflows, great way to learn and just pick up the material. And this is literally all you're going to need to know ever in your career for this. So if that's something that interests you, we have this on YouTube. We actually have a blog post that covers it. Not everybody loves video materials, so if you want to go through, you can do the blog post as well. And there's another great room by Tiberius here. You'll hear about Tiberius again in just a second, but he's got a room on TryHackMe that's free. You can cover different types of buffer overflows in here, and this is all practice for the OSCP, or was developed to be practice for the OSCP at one point. Okay, Last part of this section, privilege escalation. This is something that means like, hey, if you land on a machine and you're not the admin user, you're not the root user, how do you elevate privileges for this? This becomes very capture the flag, very CTF style, very not practical, really, really fast. However, if you want to get better at CTS, if you want to pass exams like the OSCP or the ECPPT or some of the other exams that are not as practical out there and have the CTF style escalation on them, there are resources out there. Now, again, there are courses that have been curated. There are guides, which I'll open this one up as well. So curated courses, we have 2 on our side. We've got Windows and Linux privilege escalation. They're about 7 hours each. And they cover, hey, what happens when you land on a Windows machine? What happens when you land on a Linux machine? What are the things that you can look for that are vulnerable on those machines to escalate your privileges beyond just being a low-level user? We also like to point out other courses that are similar. Windows Privilege Escalation by Tiberius. You're going to hear this name again and again, it seems like. Great course, great resource. I think his is more condensed around the 2-hour time frame. But 4.7 on Udemy is very, very hard to achieve. And again, this one's running for $20. If you wait, you could probably get a discount on that at some point as well. He's got Windows and Linux courses for the same thing. This one's actually got 4.8, so good for him on that one. Very, very hard to achieve anything above a 4.6, I think, on Udemy. So very, very strong courses here. And as mentioned, there are tons and tons of PrivES guides out there. So if you just want curated guides instead of doing hands-on materials and labs through courses, you can absolutely go through those. I've linked one here, but a quick Google search for a Windows or Linux privilege escalation guide will find you whatever you are looking for, I promise you. Lastly, we're going to get into some of the other important items here, which is content creators and community. We're going to go through this very fast. I'm not going to link everybody. Well, I'm going to link them. I'm not going to cover every single channel on this video. Content creators play an important role in the community. There are a ton, as you'll see here, that I've listed for general hacking and web app / bug bounty hacking. This is not all inclusive. I'm sure I have forgot people in here, and I'm very sorry for that. This is just the general list that I have. If you've got some favorites that you like, that you want me to add to this list for next year, please comment down below. I will happily do that. With that out of the way, I do want to make a critical note, okay? This is a word of caution that I haven't had to do in the past couple of years, but we're starting to see this very, very unfortunate in our industry, is that we're getting people in our industry that have never been hackers before, do not know what they're talking about, and are pushing bad products. I have nothing against people that are new to the industry or don't know hacking and are self-aware of that, and they go out and they say, hey, this is me learning. That's not what we're harping on. We're harping on people intentionally taking advantage of others because there's money in the cybersecurity field, there's money in the ethical hacking field, and people want to get into it. I have seen people push bad advice, like pushing the CEH or pushing that course or the material because they got referral bonuses for that. Please, please, please look at the people that are teaching these classes or that are pushing this material. Just because they have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers on YouTube does not make them credible. Look into their background. Do your due diligence. Has that person ever worked as a pen tester or worked in this field? If they have not, please be very, very cautious around those people. There are a few big names that are out there, unfortunately, that are really taking advantage of people and grifting in this field. So much so that a lot of content creators, and I've only linked a couple examples, are starting to come out with videos about this because it's getting so bad in our industry. If you want my recommendations for who I think is valid, who works in this field, who is somebody of a knowledgeable resource, these are those people. If you do not see somebody on this list, it's not a slight necessarily, but please be cautious. Again, I'm sure I missed quality people on here, but again, do your due diligence for who you are looking at and what you are learning from or who you're learning from, because that is very critical. You can get led astray very easily by people who have poor intent and are just looking to earn money off of you. Okay, I'm running out of breath. Lastly, communities. There are tons and tons and tons of communities in the hacker space. I'm not going to link all of them. I'm going to note two. We have one. We have 47,000 people in it. So it's a great resource to meet and network with other people. We've got different channels in here. We've got all of our courses that are in here. But we also have sections for like, hey, your foundations, networking, Linux, programming, Windows, learning different types of cybersecurity like cryptography or forensics, CTFs, etc. So we have a ton of different areas in here to network and to meet people. Actually, we're at 48,000 people at this time of recording. So with that, I think communities are awesome and very important to understanding and meeting other people. Now, my word of caution or word of advice is to give back what you take from it. So if you're always in the community, you're asking questions, make sure you're helping others. There's always somebody that is newer than you. There's always somebody that wishes they were at where you were at. So never feel like you're too new. There's always somebody that wants to be where you're at some point, okay? So make sure you're helping others, make sure you're being a good citizen in these types of communities, and just network overall. I cannot stress the importance of talking to people and meeting people, and just, you never know where those seeds are going to go. You plant a seed, you never know where it's going to go. You never know who you're talking to. We have CEOs, CISOs, hiring managers in this community. We've got people who maybe are finding jobs in the field, and if you help them out, maybe they'll help you out find a job as well. So you never know what can lead to just by being a good person in a community. If you're a military veteran, there's a community called VetSec. I've linked them as well. It's military exclusive. I think it's a great community, again, for networking and just having people that understand what you've been through as a military veteran, and getting and breaking into the cybersecurity field. They have some extra benefits and stuff for people that are a part of their Discord community, and they give away courses and different things all the time as well. Okay, I have been recording for hours now. This has been exhausting. It's been a journey. I love doing these videos and updating them because it helps me stay relevant as well. I love to be able to guide people and usher in the next generation in the field. So hopefully all the information that we just covered in this video has been incredibly informative for you. Hopefully the resources that I provided for you are affordable. I gave you alternatives, free options as well. And you have a path now. You have a way to say, okay, here's where I'm at on my pyramid. I want to get to here. And here are all the tasks that I need to do in order to get there. Hopefully this is a crystal clear roadmap. There are always alternatives to what I presented out there, but I tried to present the cheapest or most affordable options because that's what I'm passionate about. So with that out of the way, again, if you've made it this far, which most people don't, thank you so much for watching. Please do consider subscribing. Please drop a like, smash whatever other buttons are on there, smash the X button, close out the video, whatever. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next year, my name has been Heath Adams, aka the Cyber Mentor. Peace out.